This ball hammered center. Senzel on the run. Still going. Gone by. He is going to trot around the bases. First Atlanta homer for Matt Olson.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel. We're going to continue the team previews for 2023, and today is the Atlanta Braves. We got the Atlanta Braves expert here, Tyler Redmond. What's going on today?
Good to see you, man. Glad to be back.
Yeah, awesome, dude. So, make sure everyone, just before I forget, to check the, I'm going to have your channel down there, so everyone go subscribe over there, especially if you're a Braves fan. But just talking about the Atlanta Braves, the offseason real quick and how things have gone so far. Obviously, it hasn't been too crazy of an offseason. You added Nick Anderson, a couple of guys there, and then you traded for Sean Murphy. So, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the offseason moves?
Well, I think a lot of people, especially Braves fans that are so used to the Braves, I remember back in 2021, the trade deadline that obviously produced a World Series team eventually. I think a lot of people are expecting that every offseason, every trade deadline. It doesn't always have to be that, especially when you're a team like the Braves who have really succeeded through your farm system. Now, the farm system now is depleted, but that's because they're all in the majors. So when you have guys like Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, I would even say Vaughn Grissom coming up in 2022, that rookies and can produce, you don't necessarily have to depend on going outside of your organization that much. Now, that being said, the big deal that the Braves did do was for Sean Murphy over in Oakland. That was a 3-team trade. They traded Contreras to the Brewers in that trade. That was the big loss there. And on the other side, in the pitching department, they traded Kyle Muller, which I'll be honest with you, I was more upset about Kyle Muller than I was with Contreras because I couldn't wait to see what he became with the Braves as a starting pitcher. That being said, the Braves know that their window is right now. They know that. They know they have to compete right now. And I said this from the beginning with the Sean Murphy trade. I remembered Matt Olson and how quickly he got extended. And I said this, I don't like this trade right now, but if Sean Murphy gets extended, I like this trade a lot. And that's exactly what happened. So I think the Braves got their money's worth in that trade. I think Sean Murphy is an excellent player. You essentially make d'Arnaud the backup catcher in that move, /DH, which I think he's going to be in the lineup every day. That being said, I think it's a great move. I think it bolsters your offense. I think it makes you better behind the plate. And I think there's a difference. There was a key difference between Contreras and d'Arnaud behind the plate. And I don't mean necessarily in the stat book, but the way your pitchers interacted, how comfortable some of your young pitchers were with d'Arnaud behind the plate. There's a reason he caught every postseason game in 2021. And that's the big reason. There was a huge drop-off there. I liked the move. A lot of people didn't. I thought it made sense once he got extended. I thought it made a lot of sense. So that's what I think. And to the point of Kyle Muller, losing someone like him, and there were some other ones, Freddie Tarnick, Salinas. We lost a couple of pitching prospects in that trade. We have a lot of guys. We have an overflow of pitchers right now. And we can talk about this a little later. But just competing for the 5th spot in the rotation, you have Mike Soroka, Bryce Elder, Ian Anderson, Colby Allard, and Huascar Ynoa. So that's just who's competing. So you can afford to lose those guys. I thought it was a good trade. Again, a lot of people under the Braves umbrella didn't, but I liked it. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think with the DH now, you can plug both those guys in, like you said, with d'Arnaud and with Sean Murphy now. If you didn't have the DH, it might be a little, it was like, how are you going to fit all these guys in there? But I know you still have Osuna, I think. But I think it's a good deal. I mean, and unless those guys turn out, you never know how guys are going to turn out. So you have to kind of wait and see. But you're getting a guy who is productive, Sean Murphy. He gets on base. He can work walks too. He's just a good player, a little bit of power. So it sounded pretty good to me. But I'm not as familiar with those prospects, as you are. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I went and watched. I go up to Gwinnett a good bit. I've been to Rome a couple of times to see Soroka pitch. The thing I'll tell you, I liked Kyle Muller a lot. I liked his attitude. I liked what he brought on the mound. And outside of his stuff, he had the stuff. The dude's about 6'3". He's got the fastball. I mean, he had stuff. He was great for filling in. Like, I remember there was a lot of times we'd play the Marlins or a team that we could afford to not pitch Max Fried, if that makes sense. And we would plug in guys like Muller and Bryce Elder to just fill the gap. And they both did it very nicely. Now, was that a showcase? I don't think so, but I think it made the trade a little easier by showing major league results as well.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I was just looking at your lineup right here. This is just a fan graphs. I don't know if you agree with this. I got you still got Acuna Jr., Michael Harris, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy there. They got him plugged in the fifth spot. Ozzie Albies. I mean, Eddie Rosario. Osuna right now is DH 8, and then Vaughn Grissom. This is a lot of big names right here. This looks like a pretty potent lineup. What are your thoughts?
I would make a few changes. Number one, I don't think Ozuna is your starting DH. Now, he may be to start the season. I don't think it lasts because it wasn't 2 weeks ago. There was an article dropped where somebody asked Alex Anthopoulos about Marcell Ozuna. He says, I expect him to be on the roster come spring training. And then they asked, what about after spring training? And he said, ask me after spring training. So Ozuna is very low in the fan base, and I would say the organization. We have not seen the results since he signed that 4-year deal. And to be honest with you, I don't know where his future lies. That being said, I don't think it lies in the lineup. I think I would expect Travis d'Arnaud to be in there most regularly. And then you have guys on the outside that could also fill that too. Your bench guys, they've really invested a lot in the bench. They recently just signed Kevin Pillar.
Right, yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that could fill that on a fill-in basis, but I think d'Arnaud would take that spot most regularly. The other thing I noticed about the lineup, the biggest thing I noticed, Vaughn Grissom. A lot of people are assuming that Vaughn Grissom is going to be opening day shortstop. That may happen. They may be very confident in Vaughn Grissom because I think a lot of people look at Michael Harris. They saw Vaughn Grissom's success last year. Don't forget that Vaughn Grissom had a slump at the end of the season. That Major League Baseball figured him out eventually.
Right.
Now, with that said, he's a great talent. I think he's one day going to be a starting shortstop for either the Braves or another team. I think he's a phenomenal talent. His first year with the Braves was a fun watch. If you remember his first home run at Fenway Park, it was one of those magical baseball moments that will live on in Braves history. But you have another guy, Orlando Arcia, who, by all accounts, started every day for the Brewers. He's a good talent. He can hit pretty well. He very well might be your shortstop this year because if you can get Vaughn Grissom time in AA or AAA, that is needed, I think. Now, I've seen all the articles that, there's been articles saying that he's been working with Ron Washington a lot. If you don't know who Ron Washington is, he's not only a third base coach, he is an infield guru and one of the best baseball minds in the game, if you ask me. But yeah. I really think there's going to be more of a competition there than a lot of people are insinuating. I think you're going to have a big competition at shortstop. And I don't know if you'll remember this, Eric, but a few years ago, there was a similar competition between Austin Riley and Johan Camargo.
I do, yeah.
Everybody assumed that it was going to be Austin Riley, but Johan Camargo had a breakout year before that. So don't just assume. There very well may be that competition. Both of those guys may see time at shortstop. It just wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's cool. You have a lot of flexibility, and we'll get to the prospects as well. But yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, no, I do remember. I remember that, and also, yeah, Kevin Pillar. I forgot to mention that. Picked him up. I think it's a minor league deal, but he was really good with the Dodgers farm system with AAA last year, so he may still have a little something left. And then you got the rotation right here again. Anything you think is any corrections or anyone else who may compete for this? But right now, Max Fried, Kyle Wright, Charlie Morton, Spencer Strider, Mike Soroka, just looks fantastic.
So no real corrections. I think what they have on there is a good projection for what the season could hold. I think the Braves really expect Mike Soroka to be a factor this year. That being said, there's no doubt that Max Fried, Kyle Wright, Charlie Morton, and Spencer Strider are going to be in the rotation. Whether it's a 5-man rotation, 6-man rotation, they will be there. Those top 4 will be there, no doubt in my mind. Now, that being said, that 5th spot, like I mentioned earlier, has a lot of competition. Bryce Elder, he was just like Kyle Muller, filling in, but has a lot of talent. I still consider him to be a prospect because I remember when he got drafted a few years ago, but he's still in that prospect role at the moment, but he's competing. And I guarantee you, if he keeps competing like he has been, he's either going to be in the rotation or he's going to be a trade piece to be in a rotation elsewhere. There's just no other place for him. That's how stacked the Braves rotation is right now. Ian Anderson, World Series starter a couple of years ago. He's competing to be in the rotation.
Wow.
That's where we are right now.
Hey.
The Braves traded Jake Odorizzi this offseason for Colby Allard. Colby Allard was a prospect years ago in the Braves organization. He went to Texas. He didn't have the years that he should have. He hasn't been how do I put this? He hasn't yielded the results that his prospect prediction would have said. That being said, the Braves see something in this guy. To trade for him specifically, they traded Jake Odorizzi, which for Texas, a lot of people look at Jake Odorizzi like, oh, it's just Jake Odorizzi. As a 5th starter, that's pretty good for Texas. The Braves traded him, obviously, and got Colby Allard. I'm interested to see what Colby Allard brings. It may be nothing, but I really am curious to see it because of his history with the organization. The other guy that you need to keep an eye out for is Huascar Ynoa. Huascar Ynoa has had the most up and down journey through the minors into the majors, back and forth. A couple of years ago in 2020, he hit a grand slam of all things, among him also being probably our most consistent pitcher at the time. He breaks his hand, things go downhill. He's never quite been the same. But given a full offseason, given the whole competition feel, he very well may come out on top. He very well may fill in the bullpen. There's a lot of things that he could do. But that 5th spot is up for grabs. My favorite, and I think Fangraphs got this right, the favorite for that is obviously Mike Soroka. There's no way around it. I mean, he is the guy who used to be the ace prior to his injury. If you don't remember, it was probably one of the most nightmare of days for a Braves fan. He tore his Achilles in 2020. Right. I still think if he had been around, we would have beat the Dodgers in the NLCS and gone on to the World Series. I'll stand by that because what we needed was one more starting pitcher, and we didn't have it. That being said, I think Mike Soroka is the favorite, and I can't wait to see what he does this season. That is one of the biggest questions going into this year.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love this rotation. It just reminds me of the old 90s team and all these Braves. A lot of them were homegrown guys, so just an awesome rotation. And jumping into the bullpen, you guys picked up Raisel Iglesias, obviously, with the Reds, A.J. Minter, Jimenez, Colin McHugh, I think he used to be with the Rays. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this bullpen here?
The bullpen also lost a couple of guys, right? Luke Jackson goes to your Giants in the offseason.
Right.
They also lost Tyler Matzik to Tommy John injury. So there is some faces that are missing this year, but I think it's still pretty solid. They pick up Joe Jimenez. They expect a lot out of him. The stats don't really show how good he can be, but I think getting him on, frankly, a competitive team could really impact that, just like it did Raisel Iglesias. Because when we got Raisel Iglesias, I'll be honest with you, Eric, I went out and looked at the stats, and I was like, man, I don't know about this pick. But then Raisel Iglesias becomes the favorite for a lot of people to be the closer because he was that elite. I really think getting a guy and putting him on a better team can bring out the talent that is within, and I think that's what they expect out of Joe Jimenez. Raisel Iglesias, I expect more of what we saw last year. Colin McHugh is a long relief guy, or can be a long relief guy. I think you know what you get with him. Dylan Lee is another one of those guys who's really turned a corner and become a consistent hand. A.J. Minter, no doubt about what he's going to bring. And I'm not even expecting that. The guys that I really look at as and I think they're forgetting Jackson Stevens. I would put him over a couple of these guys. Jackson Stevens is a guy that can cover 3 to 4 innings. They re-signed him, I believe, to a minor league deal. He may not be on there.
Yeah.
But
Here he is, Jackson Stevens. Yeah.
Jackson Stevens is a guy who really can cover long innings and can do it well. I mean, he's a guy that they count on a lot, and that's why they re-signed him, obviously. But the other one that really needs a bounce back year, the one that the Braves are probably counting on the most, is Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates, we obviously picked up a couple of years ago. We knew that it was going to take some time, but we've always expected that the Braves have told us he is not a product for 2022. He is a product for 2023. That is why we signed him. We got him when we did. And I think they're going to stick with that. I think that's what they believe. And I think that for him to perform to what the Braves want, he's got to be successful in 2023. So that's what I would expect.
Yeah, Kirby Yates, I forgot about it. Yeah, he was a big time closer for a while, a few years back.
Yeah, Padres a few years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. I totally forgot you guys had him. So overall, it looks like obviously a fantastic team. This team didn't need to do a whole lot. You have so much talent there, but the Mets obviously made some big moves. I know they signed Verlander, they signed Senga. They just went kind of crazy. So I mean, what are your thoughts here? I know last year y'all both won 101 games. Those are probably the two favorites right now in the East. Would that be right?
I don't think so.
No.
And I'm going out on a limb here. I think the Mets are going to be a very good team this year. I don't think they got better. I really don't. They lose to Grom.
Wow.
They lose to Grom.
Yeah.
Then you replace him with Verlander, which is about the only replacement that would make sense to make that even.
Right.
But it's still one guy. And I have this graph. I'll tell you, I wrote this out, and where I work, I put this up on the bulletin board because we have a couple of Mets fans that I mess with. Verlander and Scherzer this year alone are making $86 million. Okay, now we're not talking about money here, but I just want to put this out there. Do you realize how much I could buy off the Braves roster right now with $86 million? You're talking the contracts of Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Spencer Strider, and probably about 5 more players. Okay, but with all that money spent, I don't think the Mets got better, or at least that much better. You lose DeGrom, you get Verlander. Other than that, it's practically just re-signing what they already had. The team that I think got better was the Phillies. They went out and got Trey Turner. They went out and made impacts that did things that would directly impact this year. That's the team I have my eye on. Not to mention they're the team that was in the World Series. So the conversation of what team is better or what team's going to win in the regular season, I think has become irrelevant because both the Braves and the Mets did not make it past the first round of the playoffs last year. The Phillies did. So it becomes kind of up in the air at that point. With the expanded postseason, I think all 3 of those teams are going to make it. But what teams got better? I look at the Phillies. I look at the Braves. I think those 2 teams got better. The Braves with their catching core, with bringing back Mike Soroka, with bringing back Kirby Yates, I think they got better, right? But I don't think the Mets did. I'll stick by that. Now, I would have completely disagreed with what I just said had the Mets landed Correa. That did not happen, so therefore I don't think they got better. There's still time, but for right now, I don't think they got better.
Does a great points, yeah. And the Phillies did make it to the World Series last year, and they seem to have, they're all in again. They got manager coming back, Rob Thompson, and obviously, I just did the Nationals preview yesterday. Like, you don't have to worry about them too much. I don't think.
No, we got a little while before they get there.
Yeah, so they're kind of rebuilding. Marlins are the Marlins. So,
I'll tell you this. The Marlins are one of those pesky teams. They're not, I don't think they're going to legitimately compete. I mean, we're looking at the standings last year. They had 69 wins. The Braves had 101. So I don't think they're anywhere near. But they're one of these teams that has the talent within to one day be where the Braves are. But it's going to take a couple of seasons. It just is. And they got to really believe in that. And they got to act like that's the plan. They're one of these teams that goes out and gets these weird free agents. It's like these random free agents that I get their gap fillers, but it's it's very out of the ordinary. They got to believe
Yeah.
in their young talent, and they have the pitching. Make no mistake, they have the pitching. They got to get some hitters, and if they do that, I think they're going to compete.
Yeah, this is Marlins do always have a lot of good young talent coming up, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of these mid-tier, decent free agents that they sign every year just to kind of, bring some people out there, which not too many people show up. But yeah,
they're trying to sell some jerseys. You can't blame them, but they also have to believe in their young talent. I look at guys like Sandy, Pablo Lopez, Jazz Chisholm. Those are the guys that are going to carry a franchise. And if you believe in that, you have to embrace that. Trade for talent that's going to, be there for a long time, not necessarily for 1 or 2 years. And don't get these guys that are getting, aging out of the game. Get some guys that like Sean Murphy. Like I look at what the Braves did. I love that move. They go out and get Matt Olson, which is directly obviously replacing Freddie Freeman, but they're guys that are going to be here for a long time. And the Braves made the move early to get these guys extended and move on. Now, part of that is that the Braves are a winning franchise. Part of that is, I'm going to be honest with you, the energy in the ballpark, the energy in the city around the team. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I've been to Miami. It's not there, not compared to Atlanta. It's just not. And players want to be somewhere where they feel like, for one, they can win. They feel like they can be comfortable. That they can have a nice situation, and I don't think it's the same down in Miami. Now, that can change. You can change that. The organization can change that. But the Braves have taken it upon themselves to already do that, and that's the struggle for Miami. That's the struggle for a lot of these teams, is that teams like, a lot of people ask, how do the Braves keep getting these guys, for long-term deals for $10 million? Acuna is on a $100 million deal, but $10 million a year. How do they do this? How do they get Michael Harris? How do they get Austin Riley? How do they keep doing this? If you're wondering that, take a trip to Atlanta. I promise you, I've been to 20 or 22 ballparks now. There is a major difference there. It's a brand new ballpark. It's a winning team. The environment's great. That makes an impact on players. They've told me that. Matt Olson told me that. So I know it makes an impact. And I think it makes it easier for the Braves to land these guys.
Yeah, that's a great point. And just the last thing, though, I wanted to check out is any of these prospects that you think are going to be possibly coming up this year and making any kind of an impact.
Coming up this year, probably your most likely is number 1 there, Jared Schuster. Like I said, we're loaded in pitching right now, so it's kind of tough. The guy that I'll tell you is my favorite off that list is Cole Phillips. For no other reason, I've interviewed Cole. It's on the channel. You can go look it up. He is battling Tommy John right now. He's got a great attitude. He's 6'3". When he's healthy, can throw 100 miles an hour. And he's a guy that I really think is going to, turn it up a notch once he gets to the majors. He wants to be a starter. He's a guy who I really like talking to. And if you go watch those interviews with him, you'll see why. He's just a very likable, competitive player, and I think he's going to be a big factor. Now, there's other guys in there. Braden Shoemake is one of those guys that's kind of been passed over year to year at the position. But if, pending an injury, or really if Braden hadn't have been injured, there's a chance he would have been in the Vaughn Grissom spot. So that's something to keep in mind. He got injured literally like the day before. So that's what kept him out of that slot. J.R. Ritchie, Owen Murphy, those are guys that got drafted with Cole. They're a little bit a while away. I think Cole as well. I think Cole's in rookie ball this year. He's also right now. But those guys are low level, but they're obviously have a lot of eyes on them. But if you're looking for somebody that's going to impact this year, you're looking at more than likely a Jesse Franklin, or I would even say obviously Braden Shoemaker, Jared Schuster. That's what I would say, and that's mainly because of the positions. We're a little light in left field right now. You have Rosario out there, Ozuna out there, but those two have been kind of non-factors last year. That's kind of what I'm saying. The other one is Blake Burkhalter. You're kind of reminded me by scrolling. Blake Burkhalter. This is a guy pitched at Auburn. Full disclosure, I live in Columbus, Georgia. That's about an hour away from Auburn. Blake Burkhalter, I watched in the College World Series. I covered that. I watched him. He's a bullpen arm, and he is a solid bullpen arm. He's not going to affect this year, but next year he very well may come up. And I can't wait to see him and what he does. He's also a student of Tim Hudson, who is his pitching coach at Auburn. So you got to think there is some overlay there of talent. But Blake is a guy who I got my eye on for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's you got a very well-rounded team, some decent prospects, some really good-looking prospects, and I think it's going to be another big season for the Braves. I picked y'all to win it all at 21. I got it right. So definitely considering y'all again this year.
Appreciate that, by the way. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I did. I picked y'all preseason in 21, and it actually happened. So.
Well, about halfway through the year, you were probably going, well, there with that. You know?
Oh, yeah, no, I was. Yeah, after the first 2 months, people called me a moron. Like, dude, this idiot picked the Braves to win the World Series. I'm like, yeah, I'm a dumbass. And then they won it, so you never know. Yeah, especially after the Acuna injury and all that. There's last year I picked the Blue Jays, so that didn't work out. But, yeah, so it's gonna be a fun year. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise about the Braves. So I bring in guests because I know you guys know a lot more about the teams than I do. And awesome, man. So good luck this season.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate being invited on, and obviously chop on and go Giants, all that good stuff.
All right.
I hope we see Jocktober in full effect this year. I like Jock Peterson. You guys, I told you this earlier, you guys keep getting our guys that we want back, but it's all right. It's all right. They got a good home over there on the West Coast. Yeah,
no, we love Jock. I was glad to hear it when he came back on that qualifying offer, so we'll see what happens. So. And I'm looking forward to the Giants Braves, and I do post games every game. So if you ever want to jump on, just let me know.
Let me know, man. I'll be glad.
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to check out the description down below. Go subscribe over to Tyler's channel, and we'll talk to y'all next time.